Howdy everybody, David here, and this is my first Fantasy Grounds video. And in this video, we're basically gonna take a look at what is Fantasy Grounds. What are the options of Fantasy Grounds? What is Fantasy Grounds altogether? What can you play on Fantasy Grounds? What kind of support does it have? What kind of big name titles can you play with Fantasy Grounds? Can I bring my own stuff to Fantasy Grounds? Meaning, can I bring my own books to this virtual tabletop? Can I afford this? How much does it cost? What are the options out there for purchasing this? And lastly, what kind of support and updates does this Fantasy Grounds have? So we're going to take a look at all of these options, and by the end of it, you'll like it or you may not like it. So let's dive right in. So first off, what is Fantasy Grounds? Well, Fantasy Grounds is a virtual tabletop, or VTT. And what a virtual tabletop allows you to do, it allows you to play tabletop games, pen and pencil games, if you're, pen and paper, pen and pencil and paper games, whatever you want to call them. And, basically like Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, Call of Cthulhu, Savage Worlds, all kinds of cool games. And it's supported with plugins. And these plugins have the rule sets, which make, the program itself recognize these rule sets, all the quirks of the rule sets, etc., and etc., and etc. And we'll be taking in other videos that I'm going to be putting out. I'm going to be putting out videos on every single rule set that Fantasy Grounds has to offer. So look for those down the line. So the Fantasy Grounds virtual tabletop also allows you to play with friends that you haven't played with in 20 years. It allows you, if you don't get out much, if you don't have a car, if you can't travel down to your local game store and play in D&D encounters or 13th Age encounters or whatever encounters they offer, you can play online. All you have to have is an internet connection. That's it. The program itself doesn't need a lot to run. It barely needs any CPU usage. So it's really friendly in that aspect. It allows you to play with people all around the world. And it's really awesome. It allows me to play because I don't have a lot of players to play with. I live in a more elderly area in Florida and a lot of retirees. So if I want to play with other people, I'm going to have to go to the, all of the retirement centers here in my town and hold them up as hostages to play D&D. So thank goodness for programs like Fantasy Grounds out there. So, that's pretty much what Fantasy Grounds is. It allows you to play with people. So let's take a look at what can you play on Fantasy Grounds. Well, you can play a lot of stuff on Fantasy Grounds. You can play Dungeons and Dragons 5th Edition. They're the only virtual tabletop out on the market that currently has a official license where you can get the Player's Handbook, Monster Manual, Dungeon Master's Guide, the Tyranny of Dragons stuff, Princes of Apocalypse, Out of the Abyss, and on the forums, there's a lot of community-made stuff that has to deal with D&D expeditions. So there is a multitude of things that you can get for Fantasy Grounds. You can also play Pathfinder. You can also play D&D 4th Edition. You can play D&D 3.5. Those are all supported by Fantasy Grounds. And as I mentioned, these first four plugins are all free, meaning the rule sets are free. Now, for 3.5 in Pathfinder, you do have access to the SRD stuff on those websites, meaning the spells and the classes and stuff. So that's really nice. You don't have to spend anything on 3.5 or Pathfinder, but there are some other optional things in the store that you can get, like modules and also some other rule upgrades that for Pathfinder. You can also play Call of Cthulhu. You can play Fate. You can play Castles and Crusades. There are a lot of different plugins that you can purchase at a very cheap price to recognize the rule set for the game that you love. So that is what it has to offer from that standpoint. Now, you can do a lot of other things as well. You can bring your own game. I mean, if you don't like what they have for sale, they have a nice core RPG rule set that is a very generic and base rule set that allows you to bring your own books, and you can enter your own data, create your own character sheets, monster sheets, etc., to create your own game. And then plus, there's a lot of community-made extensions too for the Five Rings, 13th Age, a lot of other games, Star Wars and the Edge of the Empire, Age of Rebellion. There's a lot of beautiful free extensions out there that have the rule sets. So if you don't like what they have for sale in the store, or if you don't like the free options that they have, you can also create your own. So that's really nice. If you don't like it, build it. You know, simple as that. Well, next thing you're going to say, all right, now I have a rule set. I know what I want to play. Can I bring my own tokens and maps and stuff, or do I have to buy what's in the Fantasy Grounds store? No, you don't. Now, when you get a license, you're going to get certain free map packs. So they're going to give you free map packs. They're going to give you some free tokens and monsters and stuff. So that's really cool. So they're taking care of you by giving you some free maps to start you out and some free tokens. But if you have your own, like what I did from using another virtual tabletop, I had literally thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of assets that I could bring to Fantasy Grounds and upload into the system. Hundreds and hundreds of maps that I've made, everything. You can import everything into Fantasy Grounds, and it's super simple. And I'm going to have a whole series of tutorials on how to do this kind of stuff. So this is just the beginning on Fantasy Grounds. Now, also, it allows you to create modules. So if you want to play Keep on the Borderlands, or if you want to play In Search of the Unknown, or Rahaja, or the original Temple of Elemental Evil, Fantasy Grounds gives you the option to create your own module. You import your own monsters. You import your own magic items. So it allows you to do so much. And the way that it presents it is really nice because, for instance, you can change text. You can change the italicize. You can make stuff bold. There's a lot of options when you're making a module. You can link things together. You can create rollable tables. There's so many options that Fantasy Grounds gives you to create your own content. I mean, it's great. So now you're probably asking, man, how much does this cost? Is it free like other virtual tabletops out there, or do I gotta pay for it, or do I gotta buy it? Well, I will say this: Fantasy Grounds is not free, and Fantasy Grounds has a very, very, very nice price. They have different options that you can do. So as you can see here, this is the Fantasy Grounds store, and if you want to take a look at the prices of what Fantasy Grounds costs, you can just go to the store and you'll be able to see the prices. Now, you can download a demo. It does have a demo, and it is very limited on what you can do, but you can sync up with one other person, so you can have a DM and one player. Now, when you run the demo, you can look at the D&D 3.5 stuff. You can look at the Pathfinder stuff, and you have the Pathfinder 3.5 and 4th edition rule sets at your disposal to what you can go on there and look to see how they work. It's very nice. Now, if you enter information in there, when you shut down the program, when you have the demo, it does not save it. So if you want to upgrade to a license, which is standard, it's $40, and it is a one-time purchase. So if you buy it one time, that's it for life. You don't ever have to pay for it again. There's a couple other virtual tabletops out there that allow you to pay by the month or pay by the year, but at the end of that, you don't have anything to show for it. So with Fantasy Grounds, if you buy the standard license, which allows you, I will explain these all, we'll start with the demo first. The demo. Now, there are different licenses. There's a demo, there's the standard license, and there's an ultimate license. We're going to start with the ultimate license first. The ultimate license is around $150. You're probably saying, holy crap, $150. Well, guys, that is a one-time purchase. You don't ever have to buy Fantasy Grounds again. It is yours for the lifetime of you or whatever. And with the ultimate license, it allows you to have as many players in your game as you want. It also allows you to tell your players you don't need a Fantasy Grounds license to play in your game. So, for example, all of my players, they have demos. Now, I have the Ultimate license. All of my players can log into my game and play for totally free because I have the Ultimate license. So as long as you have the Ultimate license, your players will always be able to play for free. And anybody you ever invite into your Fantasy Grounds game will be able to play for free. Now let's talk about the standard license. Maybe you don't want a Dungeon Master. You don't want to have the Ultimate license. So you get the normal $40 license. That is yours for life. You're not renting it. It is yours for life. And that allows you to log in any other person's game. If they don't have the Ultimate license, then you can log into that person's game. Simple as that. Now, the last is like the demo, like I already said. If you know somebody, if your Dungeon Master, your Game Master, has the Ultimate license, therefore all you need is the demo. And you can always log into their game. But if you find another game down in the future, if they do not have an Ultimate license, that's when you're going to need to pick up a standard license for $40. One-time purchase. Now, if you don't have the money to spend all at one time, you can also basically pay a monthly subscription. Now, when you pay the monthly subscription, it does not accrue, and you do not get the license when you accrue enough money. So if you want to get a standard subscription, maybe just test it out for a couple months. See how you like it as a player. It'll cost you pretty much $3.99 a month. That's a really good price. Also, if you want to get the Ultimate license, and maybe you want to try a game on Fantasy Grounds, use the Pathfinder stuff that's already in the game. Use the 4th edition stuff that's already in the game, or the 3.5 stuff. You can get a $9.99 a month subscription and allow all of your players to log in. Remember, all they need is the demo. So if you and your group of players that you've been playing with want to try out Fantasy Grounds and check out all the great features that it has, there you go, bingo. All you have to do is pay $9.99, try it out for a couple months, and if you don't like it, there you go. At least you say, hey, I tried it. So that's the cost on Fantasy Grounds. It's really, in the long run, and if you think about it, if you buy it one time, it's yours for life. And you always get all the updates, everything. Everything is taken care of. Now, also, what kind of support does Fantasy Grounds have? What kind of support does this program have? Are they active? Is the website active? Is there a community? And yes to all of the above. I mean, Doug, he's the owner and CEO of Fantasy Grounds. Him and his crew are always working hard on this game. There's a lot of things, new things that are always going into the store. Fantasy Grounds has made a huge improvement since Doug has taken over as new owner of Fantasy Grounds. And, it has a lot of great support, meaning there's patches all the time. Probably at least every couple of weeks there's a patch. Sometimes there's hot fixes, in the middle of the night. So, I mean, they're always diligent on fixing things. You'll never have to worry about that. Now, what kind of community does it have? It has a huge community. I mean, here you can go to the forums, and I'll show you the forums right now. As you can see, it's very nicely organized. It has all kinds of things for support, module support if there's a bug or maybe a broken image. You can always leave a post and it'll be fixed really quick. Also, here's all the different game systems that it supports. You can get on there and there are always people in those forums viewing. You can look for group. You can post that you're looking for players. You can do Dungeons & Dragons encounter sessions here. You can do Pathfinder Society stuff. There's all kinds of things that you can do. And the community also has what they call FG days. And it's sort of like, or FG Con, where every 3 months they put together a certain day, bam, a bunch of DMs come together, do all these one-shots, and the community can play. It's called FG Con. And it's free. And if you want to even DM one of these games and you do not have a license, an Ultimate license, for that FG Days or FG Con Day, Doug enables everyone to have free Ultimate license, and then at the end of the day it reverts back to normal. So, I mean, it's a great way. It's a great way to, spend time in the community as well. It has great support if you have technical questions, if you have issues, if you're having problems with Fantasy Grounds at all. The big guys on there, Zeus, Trenlo, Doug himself, they'll get on there and they'll show you how to fix it. I mean, it's a really good, it's win-win. I mean, it really is. A lot of virtual communities, virtual tabletop communities, have great communities. And Fantasy Grounds is no different. They're actually a really close-knit community. So that's pretty much everything that I have to tell you about Fantasy Grounds. A couple other things that I'd like to talk about is, there is a wiki. Here is the wiki that they have for Fantasy Grounds. So you can go here, check out anything that you want to, search. Here's all the different rule sets, community made. I mean, here's 2nd edition D&D, GURPS, Stargate, Traveler, Warhammer 40K, Vampire the Masquerade, Trail of Cthulhu, Star Wars Edge of Empire. You just click on those, and there's the rule set that you just plug in, plug into the software. And these are all free. I mean, it's great. You can also check out what they have in the store. Like I said, they have hundreds and hundreds of modules. They have rule sets. They have token packs. They have map packs. And it's just growing and growing and growing and growing. So there you go, everybody. Last thing we'll talk about is Fantasy Grounds 3 or Fantasy Grounds 10. Now, a couple months ago, I had Doug in the channel to talk about Fantasy Grounds, how it's currently is going, and what the plans are for the future. So they've been working really hard for the past year on upgrading Fantasy Grounds. Currently, it's in Fantasy Grounds 2 state. And in the future, it's going to go to Fantasy Grounds, or maybe Fantasy Grounds X, as Doug had said. And it's going to now convert Fantasy Grounds into using the Unity engine. And if you haven't heard yet, there's going to be 3D stuff, all kinds of 3D assets, walls. It's going to take virtual tabletop gaming to another level. And as Doug has said, if you already own the Ultimate license, or if you own a license, that doesn't change. You are still going to get the upgrade. Now, however, they are going to do a Kickstarter for the upgrade. And they are going to have packs to suggest how much you might be willing to contribute for the upgrade. Because it does take a lot of resource, a lot of money to get the permission to use the engine, a lot of man hours. So even if you do have the Ultimate license, or you still can take the upgrade for free, but it will have suggested amounts that you can contribute to help support what it costs to make Fantasy Grounds into what it's going to be for the future. And I can promise you, when you see what is going to be going on with Fantasy Grounds in the future, you will be giving them your wallet like I will be. So 3D, 2D, you're going to be able to go back and forth between each version. It's going to have so much cool stuff in it in the future. It's going to be amazing, guys. So there you go. That is what Fantasy Grounds has to offer. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please feel free to leave a comment down below. I always check the comments and always answer. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. So until next time, I'll see you later.